on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Case on the way. Sri Lanka Bar Association hands over relevant documents to Chief Justice against Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka. Has to be told, Minister Lakshman Kiriyala admits a referendum on proposed constitution is possible if Supreme Court says so. Dead end. Minister Vishal Baduddin rejects the idea of a control price for coconut. Joining the club, Iran tests missile in protest of Trump's UN speech. Need a probe. Pramod Wickremesinghe seeks a commission of inquiry to investigate irregular match patterns. Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to our top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena met with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres a short while ago. Talking to Twitter, President Sirisena said he is glad to note their common interest of world peace and harmony, adding, quote, his genuine interest in Sri Lanka is amazing, unquote. Meanwhile, yesterday, President Sirisena met with United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein, on the sidelines of the 72nd United Nations General Assembly. Now, during the meeting, President Sirisena assured that 2 years are sufficient for Sri Lanka to fulfill goals pertaining to the UNHRC resolution and invited the High Commissioner to visit Sri Lanka to witness the progress achieved.
Meeting on the sidelines of the 72nd UN General Assembly, President Maithripala Sirisena and UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein, focused on Sri Lanka's progress in achieving reconciliation. The High Commissioner commended Sri Lanka's progress but urged the government to expedite its work towards its goals. President Maithripala Sirisena, however, said the government is taking the process to ensure human rights and reconciliation forward step by step. He pointed out that if the government takes hasty actions, extremist groups could take advantage. President Sirisena emphasized that this task should be performed with thorough understanding about internal as well as international political and cultural matters. Meanwhile, at the UN General Debate, views were expressed on a wide variety of issues.
Australia is a strong supporter of the Paris Agreement, and here at the United Nations we have voiced our support specifically on risk mitigation for coral reefs, which are among the most valuable environments on our planet. As the custodians of the Great Barrier Reef and with our extensive experience in reef management, we're seeking to bring our expertise to other locations.
Meanwhile, Cuba, yet another nation offended by US President Donald Trump's rhetoric on Tuesday, took the floor to denounce the US.
We reject the manipulation of the human rights issue against Cuba, which has a lot to be proud of and has no need to receive lessons from the United States or anyone else. We would like to express our strongest condemnation of the disrespectful, offensive and interventionist statement against Cuba and the Cuban government made 3 days ago at this rostrum by President Donald Trump. We remind him that the United States, where flagrant human rights violations are committed, has no moral authority to judge my country.
No tienen la más mínima autoridad moral para juzgar a mi país.
The President of the Sri Lanka Bar Association, Attorney at Law U.R. De Silva, speaking to Other Derana, said that an affidavit was handed over to the Chief Justice for necessary legal action against Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka for contempt of court. The Deputy Minister recently said the majority of the judiciary and the legal profession is corrupted. Attorney at Law U.R. De Silva went on to say that the Sri Lanka Bar Association vehemently rejects the allegations levelled by the Deputy Minister Ramanayaka.
The next step would be the Chief Justice will distribute these texts to the other Supreme Court judges and get the judges' views about this particular allegation. And thereafter, if the majority of the Supreme Court judges are of the view that it should proceed, then he will be asked to show cause why he should not be dealt with contempt of court charges. The people will think that there is no purpose of going to litigation because they don't have that faith if they believe it. We have our own disciplinary committees, and the Supreme Court has own disciplinary committees. They always go into these matters and they are dealing with the necessary people who are doing wrong things to the judiciary as well as to the legal profession.
Speaker of Parliament Karu Jayasuriya has signed the Provincial Council Elections Amendment Bill yesterday. The bill was inked following discussions with the subject minister as well as chairman of the Elections Commission and the Delimitation Commission. During the talk, the Speaker has given instructions to take measures towards holding local government elections before the end of January and provincial council elections before the end of March next year, in line with the government's pledge. Now, Inspector of Police Pooja Jayasundara says the police expects to minimize traffic accidents by nabbing and advising motorists who transgress traffic regulations. He made the revelation addressing media today during a program geared towards minimizing traffic accidents. A new program to advise and punish drivers who transgress traffic rules was worked off near the Nelumpokana Mahinda Rajapaksa Theatre today under the patronage of IGP Pooja Jayasundara.
We hope to use civil vehicles in this program with police officers in civil attire inside. A traffic police officer will also be in the vehicle in uniform.
IGP Jayasundara said this program will be deployed in high-level, Baseline, Horton Place and Gall Road.
Under the program, motorists who violate traffic rules, those culpable of dangerous driving and ones who don't think about others will be identified and gathered. They will be advised and made to understand their mistakes. Necessary legal action will also be taken accordingly.
The price of coconut suddenly came under the spotlight with the price of a single coconut exceeding 100 rupees. Now, despite the Coconut Cultivation Board saying a controlled price of 75 rupees should be introduced, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Rishad Badruddin, rejected the idea.
The price of a coconut was at 50 to 55 rupees at the beginning of the year. It is also one of the top 3 export crops of Sri Lanka. In the recent days, however, the price of a coconut underwent a never-before-seen price hike, with the nut being sold at over 100 rupees. The price hike is also prevalent in areas where coconut production is rife. Within this backdrop, the Coconut Cultivation Board said there should be a control price for coconut at 75 rupees. That said, however, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Rishad Badruddin, was of a different view. It is due to issues brought on by the drought. The Cabinet Subcommittee on Cost of Living convenes on Tuesday and we will discuss the matter.
Cost of living සම්බන්ධ කමිටුව රැස් වෙනවා.
කියන්නේ ඉදිරියේදී අපිට ජන හැදිලිය බලාපොරොත්තු තියාගන්න පුළුවන් පොල් මිල සම්බන්ධයෙන් පාලන මිලක් ගෙනෙයි කියලා.
There cannot be a control price for coconut. However, we have implemented various programs to develop the coconut sector. There are large-scale coconut exports, and a program to reduce the price of coconut will have to be implemented. We have a good market and we do large-scale exports. This issue is not common. We will also discuss with the subject minister and will take measures to provide coconut to the public at a normal price.
Minister of Science, Technology and Research, Susil Premajanta, feels that the topic of constitution should play second fiddle to that of the country's higher education and especially the issue of CITEM. The minister expressed his views on the matter yesterday in response to questions raised by media following a function in Colombo.
Articles 1, 2, 3 and 4 in the Constitution should remain as it is. We also mentioned that the interpretation of the word unitary should be that of the singular word. Absolutely. It's not an issue of being anti-Scientum. Private universities should be addressed once state universities are strengthened. The biggest problem today is higher education. If private sector is handed over the country's education, there is no need for a government. The issue is 6,500 medical students don't attend lectures. There are 2 intern batches which are pending, meaning hospitals will lose 1,200 doctors this year. Isn't it a problem to have medical college students without lectures for 7 months? It should be resolved immediately. Absolutely. There is too much delay. As party to a government, when issues are left unaddressed, we too get accused. We are playing with the country's future. It is my view that prominence should be given to resolve the issue of higher education than passing the constitution.
Now, the US Marine Corps conducted a training exercise in first aid and life-saving for Sri Lankan Navy personnel recently. The program was held at the naval base in Valisara.
A 2-week course in basic life-saving techniques and first aid for combat and disaster situations conducted by the US Marine Corps for the Sri Lankan Navy, including the Sri Lanka Marine Corps, was worked off recently. During the course, the US Marine Corps trained a team of 20 Sri Lankan personnel who then passed on the training to more Sri Lankan personnel under the supervision of the US Marines.
Interoperability is very important for the United States because we're trying to build partnerships in this area. So when we have partner nations like Sri Lanka, we need to understand how each of our Marine Corps, each of our Navy work, so that when we come together as partners, we can be more effective in doing our missions in this AOR.
Minister of Higher Education and Highways Lakshman Kirayala says a referendum will be held on the Constitution if the Supreme Court says it is necessary to do so. Now, we express these views in reply to a question raised by Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter, Venerable Anamaduwe Sri Dhammadasi Thera, while on a visit to the temple. The minister also called on the chief prelate of Malawatu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera.
Minister Lakshman Kirayala handed over a copy of the interim report on the new constitution by the steering committee to the chief prelate of the Malawatu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න හැම පක්ෂයක් වගේම මේකට කෙටුපතර කැමති වෙලා තියෙනවා. විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමයේ ආහෝසි කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එක තමයි විවිධ මත තියෙන්නේ. ඔබ වහන්සේගේ මතය මොකද? විධායක මුලින්දම කියන්නේ ඔබ වහන්සේගේ මතය මේක ආහෝසි කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. අපිත් ඉතින් මුලින්දම ඒ මතය තමයි හිටියේ. මොකද රට පාලනය කරන එක්කෙනා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂය තමයි නැත්තේ. ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂයත් ඔය කියන තරම් දැඩි විරෝධතාවයක් දක්වන්නේ එදා මේක ඉදිරිපත් කරපු 16.
The minister then visited the Askiriya temple and handed over the interim report to the Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter, Venerable Anamaduwe Dhammadasi Thera.
සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි කියන්නේ මේ රටට ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් අලුතින් මේකක් අවශ්‍යද නැද්ද කියන එක පිළිබඳව ඉතින් අපේ තාම සිටේ කුසත් තියෙනවා. මොකද හේතුව සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි තිබිච්ච ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ උනත් ඔය කරපු 13 19 වාගේ සංශෝධන ඉඩම් බලතල පොලිස් බලතල ආදී දේවල් සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒ තරම්ම රටට හිතකරයයි කියලා කියන්න බෑ. ඉඩම් පොලිස් බලතල වාගේ දේවල්.
ඉඩම් බලතල පොලිස් බලතල සම්බන්ධයෙන් සියලු දෙනාම සාකච්ඡා කළා. එක මතයකට එනවා. එක මතයක් තිබ්බ නැත්නම් ඒක කරන්නේ නැහැ.
ඒ සියල්ලට මහ ජනතාව රටේ එකඟද කියන එක බලන්න ජනමත විමසුමකට හරි යයිනේ නේ. යනවා. නැත්තම් මොකද දැනට තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුල තියෙන පක්ෂවල එකඟතාවය රටේ මහ ජනතාව සම්පූර්ණයෙන් එකඟද කියලා. ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය කිව්වොත් මේක අයදුවේ පස්සේ ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
And now we bring you a report on 87-year-old Marcus Jerome Emiliana, who belongs to a community living in Putlam that will be celebrating 200 years of freedom from slavery tomorrow. She belongs to a group of Sri Lankans whose ancestors were from Mozambique in East Africa, adding a unique mix to the cultural diversity of the island.
In 1805, a group of slaves were brought from Mozambique by the Portuguese and were later freed from slavery in 1815. Since gaining freedom, they made Sri Lanka their home and are living in areas of Serambiadiya in Putlam, Kandakuliya in Kalpitiya and Ucheli in Trincomalee. Tomorrow will mark 200 years of freedom for the small community who, apart from being linked to Africa, are also a mix of Sinhalese and Tamil. A special event will be held at St. Mary's Church in Putlam to commemorate their ancestors and the freedom they have been enjoying for the last 2 centuries.
If there is a special occasion, we all come together and we sing and dance to traditional songs. When there are church activities, we always give our support. Our community has been ignored. Although the family lives apart now, when we call, they always come home.
Customs staff members attached to the Cargo Examination Directorate apprehended a consignment of banned weedicide glyphosate upon the examination of a container at the Orugodavatta container yard yesterday. Now, over 17,600 kilograms of glyphosate was packed in 987 cartons, which had been brought to the country through a Chinese source. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
A train bound from Kurunegala to Colombo derailed near Polgahawila today, obstructing trains on the Northern Railway line. One compartment of the train was derailed, causing damage to the railway track as well. A 42-year-old father of 3 was clubbed to death in Suryaveva last night, reportedly due to a dispute over money. No one responsible for the killing has yet been identified, and investigations by Suryaveva police are underway.
Welcome back to the news. OPEC and other oil producers are clearing a glut that has weighed on crude prices for 3 years and may wait until January before deciding whether to extend their output curbs beyond the first quarter of 2018. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Russia and several other producers have cut production by about 1.8 million barrels per day since the start of 2017, helping lift oil prices by 15% in the past 3 months. OPEC and its allies have been considering extending the deal beyond the end of March, when it is due to expire. Russia's energy minister said no decision was expected before January, although other ministers suggested such a decision could be taken before the end of this year. A $3 billion investment on a new refinery at the Hambantota port looks to be on the cards. Quoting an official of the Board of Investment, Reuters news agency reports that Sri Lanka is in talks with 2 Chinese companies over the venture.
China Merchants Port Holdings has a 99-year lease to handle commercial operations at the Hambantota port. Quoting a director at the Board of Investment, Mangalayapa, Reuters says 2 Chinese companies had put forward a joint venture proposal for the refinery, which is expected to produce 5 million tons per annum with an investment between $2.5 billion and $3 billion. The Chinese firms, however, were not named. It says the joint venture plan was chosen from 3 bids, including one from a US company through a local partner. The BOI official was quoted saying the refinery needs around 500 acres of land. The land cannot be reserved.
Executive Director of the World Bank for the constituency of India, Bangladesh, Bhutan and Sri Lanka, S. Aparna, and the World Bank's Country Director for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Idazi Sorai Rido, met Sri Lanka's Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira at the Ministry of Finance this week to explore possibilities of leveraging resources to achieve sustainable development goals. Now, in a statement, Aparna commended the government on the positive social indicators displayed in the fields of health, education, literacy rate and life expectancy. The government also conveyed the need for extensive collaboration to mitigate such climate-related disasters. Executive Director Aparna stated that the World Bank is willing to assist Sri Lanka in such endeavours. With North Korea's missile tests giving rise to tension, Iran too has weighed in with their own missile test. The country claims it successfully tested a medium-scale missile which can carry multiple warheads. Iranian state media says the Khorramshahr missile was tested in response to US President Donald Trump's speech, which criticized Iran's missile program and a 2015 nuclear deal at the 72nd UN General Assembly.
The missile named Khorramshahr was launched at an unknown time and location. As per international media, the missile has a range of 2,000 kilometers and it can carry multiple warheads. The missile was displayed in public for the first time yesterday at a parade held in Tehran in commemoration with the 1980-88 war against Iraq. Addressing the gathering at the parade, Hassan Rouhani stated Iran will strengthen its missile capabilities as a form of deterrence and that it will not seek permission from other nations to do so.
British Prime Minister Theresa May says a 2-year transitional period under current membership terms should be enforced in order to delay the impact of Brexit. She also stated that EU migrants will be allowed to live and work in the UK, provided that they would register under UK authorities. Elaborating on the importance of the relationship between the European Union and the UK, the British Prime Minister made these proposals in Florence, Italy yesterday.
In short, we want to work hand in hand with the European Union rather than as part of the European Union. That is why in my speech at Lancaster House, I said that the United Kingdom would seek to secure a new, deep and special partnership with the European Union. And this should span both a new economic relationship and a new relationship on security.
Meanwhile, proposals made by the British Prime Minister regarding Brexit were also subjected to speculations in connection with the upcoming German election. Experts say that Brexit will not bear an impact on the possible re-election of German Chancellor Angela Merkel. They also said that Chancellor Merkel's re-election would work in favour of Brexit and EU's task in tabling a new course.
Former Sri Lankan cricketer and selector Pramod Wickramasinghe says his comments on mysterious and unnatural patterns in matches played by the national team should be investigated by a commission of inquiry. Releasing a communique, Pramod also requested a COPE inquiry. National cricketers, including 40 contracted players, yesterday refuted Pramod Wickramasinghe's alleged comments on unnatural and mysterious match patterns. In response today, Pramod Wickramasinghe released a communique saying he only brought out floating rumours and called for a proper inquiry by a competent authority to ensure players have the proper environment to play the game. He went on to say that Sri Lanka Cricket or any other person as well as an institution connected to SLC should not conduct the relevant inquiry due to conflict of interest. Furthermore, he called on the President to appoint a commission of inquiry to thoroughly investigate if there is any merit of the said allegations which have been the subject of public discussion. In addition, Pramod also believes it is wise for the COPE to also conduct an inquiry since funds utilised by Sri Lanka Cricket are public funds. He highlighted that failure to investigate main white international organisation such as the Anti-Corruption Unit of the ICC to launch an inquiry into the affairs of the SLC. The Athletic Championship of the 43rd National Sports Festival commenced at the Kotuvilla Stadium in Matara yesterday under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickramasinghe and Minister of Sports Dasiri Jayasekara. The sports exhibition, which is held in line with the sports festival, was inaugurated by Prime Minister Ranil Wickramasinghe. The ceremony included the launch of a website containing information of sportsmen and sportswomen who have represented the nation at Olympic Games.
We hope to implement a program next year which will cater to the needs of the sportsmen and women in national teams by the Ministry of Sports. The program will be worked off to provide necessary payments and training for them. The strength of a nation is measured at present by the number of medals won in the field of sports. Therefore, through sports, we intend to improve the identity of the nation.
On to over the forecast now. Fairly strong gusts of wind can be expected over the Uva province and over the Ampara and Hambantota districts. Light showers will also occur in the Sabaragamu and Central provinces and in the Colombo, Kalutara, Galle and Matara districts. Let's now take a look at the city by city forecast. And before we go, we'd like to bring you visuals of Moon Lake in India, also known as Chandratal. The name of the lake originates from its crescent shape, and today it has become a popular destination for trekkers and campers. We hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.